In this video, I'm going to talk to you about subjects and verbs because they're really the main building blocks of any sentence. Every sentence will have a subject and a verb and then some other words. So the reason why we make a big deal about subjects and verbs is because being able to identify what subject goes with what verb is the first step to mastering subject-verb agreement. And that's a lesson that we'll do in a couple of weeks. So verbs are defined as actions, and an action, that's the verb you learned, right? Anything that you can do, I jump, she thinks, we play, those are action verbs. Or it can be a state of being. So a state of being might be like, I feel happy. And happy is a state of being. It describes how I feel. And so the verb feel might not immediately feel like an action, but it is a verb. Or I am happy. And am doesn't feel like a verb, right? But it is a verb because it's describing my state of being, which in this case is happy, okay? So the action verbs are those garden variety verbs that shouldn't give you much trouble. Then there are compound verbs, and that really just means more than one verb. And so compound verbs are joined with and, because and always means one more, or nor. Okay. So in this case, I run and jump. I am the one doing the action, so I am the subject, but I'm doing two verbs. I'm doing the verb run, and I'm doing the verb jump. I could also run or jump, right? But in that case, I'm still technically doing two verbs because it's possible that I'm going to run, and it's equally possible that I'm going to jump. This one gets into a weird place, but you could say I neither run nor jump. And even though I'm not doing either of these verbs, I am still the grammatical subject of the verb because I am telling you that I'm not doing it. So even by not doing it, I guess I'm sort of doing it. But that's a weird thought. So let's move on. There are other kinds of verbs. So there are three verbs that we use to give a little bit more information about when the verb happened. So for example, I could say, I am happy, right? Or we are happy. But I could also say, for example, I am going to the store. And then am plus going tells you that it's happening at exactly this moment, right? They were studying grammar. They were plus studying is the verb, and it's something that's happening at this moment. Or in the were case, it was happening in the past, sorry. I could also do versions of to do, like I do, she does, they did. So this puts it in the past tense, just like were puts it in the past tense. They were going to the store means that that was happening yesterday, right? So here I can add I do study. Like if someone says, I don't think you study, you could say, I do study. And do is a verb, and it's sort of adding some emphasis to the fact that you study. Or to have. And we mostly use this to put something in the past tense, like I have studied. Like yesterday and last month and earlier in the year, I have studied, right? Or she has studied, or they had studied. You're putting it in the past. So these are kind of helping the verb figure out when in time it's happening. So here's some example, right? The manager plans. That means like today, the manager plans. But if I say has planned, I'm putting it in the past, right? I wouldn't say tomorrow the manager has planned. I would say yesterday the manager has planned, right? Today the manager plans. Or the manager is planning, which means that it's happening like literally right now as we speak. So by adding these extra verbs to our verbs, we are giving a little bit more information about how to think about the verb being done. Here's the last one. The manager does plan. That again is adding that sort of emphasis to it as if you were sort of correcting a misunderstanding. And then we have these weird verbs called modal verbs. And modal verbs express the possibility of a verb being done. Sorry, I can't type very well. Being done. So in other words, you can go to the store means I think you can, right? Or you may go to the store means I'm giving you permission to go to the store. Or you should go to the store as me saying that I feel like going to the store is a necessary action, right? So here's some examples. The manager can plan, the manager could plan, the manager may plan, the manager might plan. The manager must plan, right? That's very different from may plan. The manager should plan. The manager will plan, or the manager would plan. Like the manager would plan if you paid her overtime, right? So these are called modal verbs, and the nice thing is they never change. You know, can is never going to change. All these words are not going to change, but technically I just want you to know that they're verbs, and they're all modifying plan, right? Like can plan is different from should plan, okay? So that's it for verbs, right? Let's just look at this one more time, right? You can have an action verb, that's your garden variety verb. You can have a compound verb, like doing more than one verb. Or you can have other verbs, which are the to be verbs, the to do verbs, the to have verbs, and those modal verbs, which express possibility. Okay, the subject is who or what the sentence is about. It is the one either doing the verb, the one who is doing the verb, or one who is experiencing the state of being. So that is, again, an example of saying, I am happy. Am is the verb, and the state of being that I'm in is happy. A simple subject, you know this. This is your garden variety subject. The bunny, the teacher, the student, right? Anything, any noun that you can point to is a simple subject. Now, I bet if you think about it for a minute, you could figure out what a compound subject is, right? If compound means that you're adding one more, then it means two subjects. So you could say the bunny and the kitten sleep, right? In other words, both the bunny and the kitten are doing the verb, which is sleep. Okay. A gerund subject is sort of weird, so I'm just telling you this for bragging rights, okay? A gerund subject is a subject that is a verb that has been altered so that it can be a subject. So a gerund is any verb with ing. So in other words, if I take the verb to run and I want to make it the subject of the sentence, I have to make it into a noun. So I add ing is, now I can talk about it, okay? So just remember that a gerund, which is a verb with ing attached at the end, can be the subject of a sentence. A pronoun subject, the pronouns are like little words that we use so that we don't have to keep repeating ourselves. So I could say, the bunny woke up. The bunny was happy. The bunny ate a carrot. And you'd be like, oh my God, Alexine, stop saying bunny, right? So the pronoun is like a little word that you could use instead, like the bunny woke up. She ate a carrot, and you understand that she refers to the bunny. So there are only a few pronouns. There's I, you, she, he, it, we, and they. Those are all the pronouns, okay? These are singular pronouns, I, you, she, like you just that one student, and he and it are singular. We and they are plural. And by the way, you can also have a plural you. So I could speak only to you, student that I'm talking to, or I could speak to all of you, the class, right? And then finally, we have an indefinite pronoun subject. These are not all of them, but an indefinite pronoun is, again, referring to something like the way she might be referring to a bunny, but it's not clear who you're referring to. Anybody, anyone, anything, everybody, everyone, everything. Nobody, no one, nothing. Somebody, someone, something. I bet you see a pattern here, right? These are all examples of indefinite pronouns, and they can be the subject of the sentence. I could say, nobody is going to sleep tonight. I hope that's not true, right? Nobody's the subject, and is going to sleep is actually the verb. This is the full action, okay? Okay. So let's do a little bit of practice. And what I'm going to ask you to do is put the subject in one color, and you can pick your colors, and then put the verb in the other color. And then after the sentence, I'm going to ask you just to put the subject-verb pair. So let me show you what I mean. In this case, the verb is plans, right? Let's make the verb yellow. And I actually have another verb here. Do you see this? Dream. Dreaming is an action that you can do. Now, this is tricky because these verbs don't all have the same subject. In this case, who does the planning? The manager plans. The manager plans. Who's dreaming? The rabbits are dreaming. So do you see that we have two subject-verb pairs? So you're going to write manager plans and rabbits dream. See, I'm just smushing them up together? Okay, here's the next one. The managers and the employees plan and organize. And you're probably thinking to yourself, oh, self. This is a compound subject, right? This is a subject, this is a subject, and this is a compound verb. So let's put our verbs in yellow. Whoops, that did not work the way I wanted it to. Let's make this go away and organize. Let's see if we can make this work. Try that again. I don't know why. Every now and then the internet just totally foils me. Okay, so now we have the managers is one subject, and notice it's joined with and the employees is the other subject. Okay, so then we would write over here, managers, and then let's do a slash employees, plan, organize, right? So the two subjects, the two verbs. Okay, here's another one. Everyone in the office stayed late today. So the action here is that they stayed late. So let's highlight stayed. That's, oops, I'm really having a hard time with these colors. Hopefully you will not struggle as much. Stayed is the verb. Who stayed? Well, you might be tempted to say the office because it's right before the verb, right? The office stayed, but if you think about it, that makes no sense, right? Everyone is the one who stayed, not the office. So we're going to highlight everyone, color it green, and then we're going to put them together. Everyone stayed, right? So I put my subject right next to my verb, and I've taken out those little tempting words that might make you get confused, okay? So eventually they will use a substitute check for payment. So in this case, my verb is use. That's the action. And who is going to be using this substitute verb? Ah, they. So this is an example of a pronoun subject. Now look at this. I missed something. Were you all saying, Alexine, is a modal verb. It's putting use into the future tense, right? I will go to the store. I will use. That's tomorrow, okay? So here's another one. Created is my verb, but if I go back, I actually have a modal verb and a to have verb. So those are all my verbs. And what could have created a positive work environment? Everyday social interactions. And in this case, it's actually just interactions. And the reason why is because everyday and social are describing the interactions, so they're really called adjectives. But in this case, the subject is interactions. So I would write, right? And look at that, I missed this one, but I'm running out on time, so we're going to just leave that. It's they will use. Okay. This is interactions is the subject, could have created is the verb. The euro was introduced in 2002 and everyone was thrilled. So look at this. Was is my verb because it's putting it in the past tense and it's describing a state of being. And actually introduced is a verb too. And here is another verb, right? What was introduced in 2002? The euro was. Okay. And who was thrilled? There's another indefinite pronoun. Everyone was thrilled. Actually, this wasn't true. A lot of people didn't really like the euro, but that's a whole other story. Okay. On-the-job training occurs during work and is done informally. So in this case, my verb is occurs, means it happens, right? Let's see if I can get my yellow highlight here. Okay. And I have another verb, is done informally. What occurs? The training does. Just the training. Okay. And what is done? Okay, on the job training occurs during work, and so the subject is actually still training. So in this case, you would write training occurs and is done, right? Because this subject has two verbs. That's that compound verb. Last one. 5 employees walked into the manager's office because they were curious. Walked is my verb, and were is my verb. That's my state of being. Who walked into the manager's office? The employees. Who were curious? They were curious. Okay, that was a lot to cover, and I know this is a long video, but please consider watching this more than once, because if you can find your subjects and your verbs, you are on your way to subject-verb agreement, and you will do very well in the quiz.